Let's try A again for the 5th time. This is difficult today. I don't know why it's so hard to start something. All my settings have been wiped, so I have to start from scratch again. Okay, if I write code, how big is the delay? Yes. And now let's put some, I want it. Okay, if I put it full screen, I do see what I'm writing, so we should be fine. Okay, well, we're gonna do some Elm. One of the things I've seen, so I'm playing around with Twitch. I'm pretty new at streaming, to be honest. So I streamed the first session, but it wasn't saved by Twitch. I'm gonna go in the settings now actually and double check that it's gonna be saved. And the second thing, I also recorded 2 days ago. I did record. Yeah, I recorded myself instead of streaming to be able to, well, to be able to put it online and have less strain on the network. Except if you're not a Twitch affiliate, you are not allowed to basically upload streams. So I found it a shame. So what I've decided is I'll basically redo the first stream very quickly so that it's stored and people can see the. So my point is to learn some Elm with you. I don't know Elm that much. I use it really for fun at home, but I want to learn more about it. And I want to learn it by building something. And what I'm going to build is an Elm memory game. So it's very easy. It's you know, you have a stack of cards and then you want to find the pairs together by clicking on 2 cards. I'm playing memory a lot with my daughter, so hopefully maybe we can use this Elm app at some point to play together. We're gonna start from scratch again. I've done some work in the last stream, but I think we can go through it again very quickly. I'm gonna stream about an hour now and probably an hour this afternoon. Oh, and I want to mention it just because I just started a day, 100 days of code, where you're supposed to basically do an hour of coding every day, which I'm doing after work. And this is part of the challenge. So we're going to start with an empty model. I do expect that you have just a little bit of knowledge about Elm, but you don't need much because I don't know much myself. So we're going to have our model. It's basically, I consider Elm to be pretty much a state machine. So our model is the definition of the data that we're going to have. We're going to react to updates on our model, and the view is basically how we want from our model to view things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to use Elm UI. I don't want to use divs and I want to play around with CSS. I really don't. And since we're learning Elm, I'm going to do as much Elm as possible. So we're going to start with Elm UI, which is nothing else than another way to create a UI. I've already installed the dependencies so that we struggle less than last time during the stream. So the first thing we want to do is an element.layout, and the layout is basically what's gonna allow us. This is gonna be pretty much, well, our layout. I mean that's pretty much enough to say it, right? And we're gonna start with very simple thing. I want we expect an element in there, so I'm gonna create an element. But I'm gonna create an image, I think, just to start with. I want to really encapsulate image. Yes. I'm gonna create a column. Well, semantically, you probably understand what that means. I'm gonna create a column in my layout, and I'm gonna put an image in there. There you go. Attributes we'll see later. Right now, the data I want in there, I want a source, and the source is going to be, I think, I have to double check, but I think it's just logo.svg in this case. Logo.svg, yeah. And description is going to be, oops. is going to be the Elm logo. Okay, let's see where we are. Source. I was expecting an equal sign followed by, what am I doing already? Probably a source equal instead of a, there you go. Okay, and yes, now we probably have to give it some kind of size because otherwise it's not going to work. Element dot, let's see, can I do width? Yes. 300 and element dot height. I'm a big fan of just trying, and if it doesn't work, I'll fix it. So let's see. Hey, this is definitely not how I want to do these things, right? I don't want to basically set to 300 size, but right now that's as fast as we can go. Okay, and so I have to feed a length to width. That's what Elm tells me, but I have an int, so I probably need pixels. I'm going to use pixels. How do we use that? Element dot pixels 300, and I'm going to feed that into the width. That's probably how that should work. Up. Yes, we're compiling. Let's see, and now we have an image. Awesome, easy. Well, the first thing I'm gonna want is just to check that we're actually having a column. I'm gonna put a title. I don't know how to do titles in Elm UI yet. Let's see, is there any H1? No, probably text. Let's start with text. We'll see later how that works. I don't know. Text layout, paragraph, no column. Do we have any ways to do titles? I mean, I can always style text, right, to have titles. But I'm surprised there's no titles because it's pretty important for accessibility, right? We need to know what the structure is. Okay, we'll see later. I'm just going to create a element dot text right now to move forward, and it just takes a string as an input. So our memory game, it's gonna be, there you go, we're compiling, all fine, yay. Okay, well, we're playing memory, so the first thing we're gonna want is probably well, we're gonna want some kind of grid, a grid with cards, and later I'm gonna want to make it dynamic, but right now we're gonna make it static, and we are gonna use a symmetrical grid, I'm thinking. So we need a pair, even number of cards. Cannot play with 9 cards, right? Because there's one card that's gonna be alone. So if we start with a 4x4 square, that gives us 16 cards, 8 pairs. We'll start like this. To do my grid, I'm gonna, well, this grid is gonna be encapsulated. It's gonna be a thing by itself. So I'm gonna use an element there. Let's see. Okay, text an element as an input. Well, how does it work? We need I want a list of, we need to make a grid. So let's say that I need 4x4. I'm gonna start using coordinates. So I'm gonna start creating things that say 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, x and y's. I'm gonna expect 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, etc., etc. So we're gonna do that now, and I'm gonna put that. Yeah, basically, why do I do that inside an element? I can just go like this. One of the things I've checked, so I'm trying to do as little homework as possible before the stream, but I do need to know where I'm gonna go, right? Otherwise, you're gonna be very bored very quickly, if you're not already. I looked a bit in the Elm functions, and I saw that there is an Elm range, list range function. So the list.range allows you to put a starting point and a stopping point. So in this case, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 to 4, and it's going to generate basically a list with my integers in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, once I have that, I want to map this into probably elements. So I'm going to do a list.map. And so for each element of my integer list, I am going to want to do something. And I'm going to create an anonymous function, which is going to take an item. And it's going to create an element dot text. Why not for now? And it's going to create a string dot from int. And then it's going to be the item. And I want to feed that into this. Yep. Let's see what happens. Okay. I was expecting to see expression. Yes, because we're still inside of our L here. Let's see. Colon. Yes. Up. Uh-oh. Now we're returning a list, but we want a single element. Well, let's make it a row then. Up. And then the row takes a list as an input. So that seems great for our use case. The row is basically just a counterpart of a column, right? That we're using already here. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, which is pretty much what we want. Now, we do want, though, a second row. Like right now we have a single row, we need a grid. So we're going to go one level deeper, obviously. And here, for each item, I'm going to close the window because the neighbor is mowing the lawn. There you go. Okay, so for each of the items, we're going to want to do a second list range. I'm going to first rename that item thing to, let's call it row number. Row number. And I'm going to carry to second list dot range 1, 4 because it's going to be the same size, which goes into a map. So it's going to be a bit convoluted at the beginning, but we can refactor that later. That's not going to be a problem. And here we're going to need a new anonymous function, which is going to take colon number this time as an input, and we're going to do the same thing, creating our text elements, but this time we want I'm going to be a bit more explicit. I'm going to want something like this. Concatenating strings is with double pluses in Elm. Don't ask me how I learned that. There you go. And the last thing we want is to add our column number. Long number. There you go. Okay, hopefully that does not compile. We are creating a list of lists. We are indeed creating a list of lists, which is unhandy. So we're gonna have to, it makes sense, right? We're creating a list here. For each element of the list, we're getting an item, but we're recreating a list. For each element of the list, we are having a list as an input, as an output. So I'm gonna want to concatenate those two lists, I think. Da-da-da. Yes. All right, so now we have 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4 as expected, and we do have 16 items. Well, but it's not a grid though, it's a single row, which is not fun. So we do need a grid. To get to a grid out of that, we probably need here to create columns. And we're gonna do that. Let's see, if we remove our concatenation and we flatten earlier, which is going to be probably here. So I'm going to create a column, bang, bang, and the input of each column will be our a map, our ranch. Is that gonna work? Huh, that was way too easy. Okay, let's double check. So we're doing rows first, column afterwards. Row 1, row 2. No, that's obviously, I'm always getting those wrong. The row number, is that a row number? No, this is a column number. So I want to rename that column number, and then here we have the row number. I'm always getting those wrong. I've been doing like years of math and physics and I always get those wrong. Okay, row number 1, column number 1 is a second. Now we're good. Well, okay, it's time for a commit. Hey, I love that. So, oops. Hey, because I'm streaming, it's taking half the power of the laptop, so everything is a bit jaggy. So created our memory grid. Pretty happy about that already. Okay, well, our next objective is probably to have images in there, right? I'm gonna want an image in there. Okay, the way I'm gonna do that is, well, I've already prepared during the last stream. We're gonna pretend like it's new. I have a bunch of Pokemons in there. I took them from the Pokemon API. We're gonna do a memory game with Pokemons. It's never too late to teach your daughter about Pokemons, right? So, well, we're gonna try something stupid first and then improve. I'm really big fan of that. So what I want to do here is I want to keep my indexes for now because it's still handy. So I'm gonna keep the element.text, but I'm gonna want to not only create a text, but also I want to create I want to put an image on top. And the basic layouts, we're going to keep using rows and columns, and we want to have 2 elements. So we're going to use a row here. That should work fine already. We'll just basically do nothing because we haven't done anything. But here I'm gonna basically recreate an image just like earlier here. So we're gonna want an element dot image. I don't know yet about the size. Let's say in this specific session I will really not care at all about the layout. The point is really to get the logic done, part of the logic at least. So we'll care about the layout much later, in a later session. Width and height, and I'll also spare you the documentation read of Elm UI, so I'll look into it a little bit so I know what I want to do before. Okay, I'm gonna make a small, and then we need a source and a description. So source, it's gonna be Pokemons, because it sits in a folder. And this is, I think those are PNGs. You can check. Let's see. Yes, Pokemons / PNGs. But Elm is going to complain because we need a description as well. A Pokemon, the image of Pokemon. Oop. Let's see, image, we forgot a comma there. Yes. Okay, so now we'll have a Pokemon in each element of our grid. Let's see, I don't really love that because, let me think. I don't want to screw the layout too much, but ideally I would have the Pokemon inside here. But okay, you get my point. We could just hide the text line here and then just have our Pokemons pretty much. Yay. Let's actually do that. Let's keep it like that. That's kind of nice. Okay. That was easy. So add images. Up. One thing I'm going to show you, and I'm going to do it on and off. I'll come back to it later, but I'm committing and I'm pushing. You can find the code online if you go on my GitHub. It's called Elm Memory, and if I push, I already set up during the stream that wasn't recorded. I set up Netlify. What that means is every time I push, actually, it's going to be deployed online, so we can try it online live later. Okay, we have our grid. That went fast. The first stream was an hour. We did it in 20 minutes now. The next thing I want to do, let me think. Yes, I would love. So we need to do a few things to get this to be a memory game. The first thing we need to do is, well, we need to have a hidden. We need to respond to click, right? And we need to have all those images to be hidden, and we need to return flip them when they're clicked on. Then we will need to also, handle or two images have to be clicked, and then if the two images are the same, etc. We'll do that much later. Counting points, etc. We do need a restart button. Basically, everything has to be done. The first thing I want to do now is, well, the whole point of the memory game is that you don't know where the images are and you need pairs. So what I would like to do is I will take all the Pokemons I have and I will shuffle the list to know which ones we're going to take. That sounds like a plan. Let me think. Ideally, I don't want to always play with the same Pokemons. So I think I have 13. It's bad luck in our country. I have 13 Pokemons. I will create a function that selects out of 13 Pokemons. So we have a 16, we said 8 pairs. So out of 13 Pokemons, I want 8 of those. And we will show them at the bottom. So I will do this like that. We will start small and then we will grow. Inside my row here below, I'm gonna create a text item, and this text is gonna be, let me think. Let's start like that. Okay, so that's gonna be a list of ints. Oh, sorry, I have to restart Elm app. Yes. And if I go to Netlify, by the way, whoop. Is it online yet? It is impressive how much bandwidth and processing power streaming takes. Okay, we published it 2 minutes ago. So you can actually play the game by clicking on this link. So elm-memory.netlify.com. Well, you cannot play the game yet, right? And do you see this little plus install button? That's magical. Create Elm app is actually creating PWAs by default, so you should be able to install it on your phone, for example, and play it. Ideally online. I think it might be one of our objectives before the end of the 100 days of code, to actually be able to play the whole game offline. Shouldn't be too hard, right? Okay, so now that we have this, we'll come back to our Elm app. I want, well, we've been doing very statically so far. So I will create a few, well, what you would call in JavaScript or in most languages actually, a few constants. Well, Elm doesn't have really variables. It has, but most of the time you won't use variables in Elm, or constants at least. Everything is a function. So if we create a function, number of rows, that's going to return an integer. Well, we're going to say I want 3. and columns. So because I am putting them here, not in a model, the user will not be able, or even I will not be able to change that value. But that's fine for now. We can always improve later. And here, instead of 4 and 0, I'm going to start at 0 and then put number of rows minus 1. Up. Or we could also start at 2, at 1, and do minus 2, I think. Let's see. Up. And this is going to be, oh, number of columns. We said we will start with rows. Rows minus 2. Let's see, does it change our size of our stuff? Ta-ta-da. Number of columns is not a function. That's a shame. What did I do? Let's see. Number of columns. There's no typo in there. What is happening? Is not a function, but was given one argument. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm actually passing minus 2 instead of doing a subtraction. That's a funny error. Let's see. Okay. 3. Oh, why am I doing minus 2? That's... No, it's probably plus 1. What the heck am I doing? Let's see. Let's try that. That should be giving us a 3 by 3. Yes. So, because I'm starting at 1, I have to go to plus 1. When I'm telling you that I'm bad with all those indexes. There you go. Okay, we're back. So now we do have we at least have some sort of a dynamic-ish grid that is becoming possible. Now the next thing I want to do is, well, we said we would be using Pokemon images. I don't want to screw around with names so much, so I made it easy for myself. I called each Pokemon his one image, and it's called 1 to 13 so far. So we're just going to create a number of Pokemons, also vary function, which is going to tell us about the number of Pokemons we have in our folder. What that gonna allow us, the first thing I want to do is these to become dynamic. I want to be able to print that in a dynamic way. So if I remove Pokemons from my folder, or if this changes, I want to be able to have the list print change as well. So list of selected Pokemons is going to be a function that takes an int and returns a list of ints. A list of selected Pokemon is going to take off. Actually, do I need an int? No, I don't, because I already know how many Pokemons there are. So the list of selected Pokemons is basically going to be list.range, in our case, 1 to number of Pokemons, I think. Well, now the only thing here is, ideally I could do list of selected Pokemons there, but we need a string to enter, to give to a text. And list of selected Pokemon is a list of integers, which is not handy. So we're going to create, and it's just for the sake of visualization. I could also debug, but I hate debugging. I like putting stuff in my UI, especially given the UI is so small. So I'm going to do list of ints to string. Just going to make it a function. Oops, I'm going to put it a bit higher up. There you go. Okay, and I'm gonna, what is that gonna do? It's gonna take a list of ints as an input, and it's gonna return a string. And how that's gonna work is, how is that gonna work actually? So my list, it's gonna take my list, and we already know we already used this one. We're going to map. So the first thing is I'm going to take each element of my list of integers and I'm going to convert that into a string, and then I'm going to concatenate the list. So I'm going to take list map, and in there I want string dot from int I. So now we have an integer that's transformed into a string. We need to feed my list into it. And then I think we need to do a string. So if I stop here, and if I do this, then it's going to complain because I have a list of string now, and I want a single string. By the way, for those of you that don't know, I expect most of you to know it, but this little symbol here, basically it's feeding the part on the right to the part on the left, and we can use it both ways. So in this case, for example, I'm feeding my list of integers that I just created into list map. That's pretty cool. It's also pretty obvious if you see the symbol. It's not crazy to think about what it's doing. So I'm gonna take this list of strings that I generated, and I'm gonna use string.concat, which is pretty much exactly what we want it to do. There you go. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 13. If I'm thinking, you know what, I'll be a bit lazy. We'll do just enough to get by. I'm gonna add a comma in there just to give a bit more space. And then we should have comma between each number. Okay, and you know, we could remove that, but that's a bit overkill given the fact that this is going to be deleted in a minute. Okay, so now we have our list of strings, except, well, I don't want all of them. I want 8 of them. And better than that, I don't want the first 8 ones. I want a random shuffle. So out of 13, I want a random number of pairs. How are we going to do that? We're going to use, so I've been looking online a little bit, but we're still going to be doing it together, but random extra. So for those of you that don't know, Elm has packages that are part of the core modules. So for example, list or dict or random is also one. And most of the time for one of those, you're going to have the minus extra. So if you have random extra. Dict has this dict extra, etc., etc., and that gives us like goodies, extra goodies basically, which is pretty nice. In this case, we can look into, well, random list, and random list has a nice shuffle method. And shuffle is gonna, okay, we don't really care how, we should, but we don't today. But it's gonna take a list, and it's gonna create a generator of a list of A. I don't want to do magic, so let's go into Elm Random and try to understand a little together what this generator thing is. The cool thing is there is a guide just about that. And what it explains, so we're not going to look at the code, we're going to look at, okay. So the core idea is that we have random generators describe how to generate a random value. So this generator is going to explain the method on how to generate a list, which we're not going to have to care about, which is perfect for us. The way we want to use this, we just want to use this thing to generate. Okay, so we're gonna have to dive into events. If we see how that works, we see that, let me think, can I show you generators, generator. So a generator is a recipe, okay, we get that, and we use it with a generate. Generate is generating, is actually creating comments. So we're gonna have to play around with comments a little bit. The easiest way for me to introduce you to that, I think, is via a button, because a button is very obvious. When you click on a button, something happens. It's how it works in JavaScript as well. You have like your method that's going to be triggered when you click on a button. So we'll do it like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an element.button. Maybe it's input.button. I never know. Let's see. I think I have to import element. Oops, big E. We're gonna do that together, and then we're gonna stop there because I'm gonna have to go for lunch. But let's get this generator working first. Okay, input does not expose a button constructor. We're gonna go back to Elm UI, search for the button, and try to find it. I know it's in input. Has to. Okay, button. So it is small b, obviously. And then we're gonna have our usual list of attributes, which we're not gonna use right now. On press and label. So we're gonna start with label. Label is gonna be shuffle list. And the on press, we're gonna do nothing for now. So you see the text in maybe. So maybe I do expect most of you to be acquainted with programming one way or another. So maybe can have two values. It's either just with value in there or nothing. It's very handy because if you don't know, in this case, for example, onPress is going to be doing nothing, which is perfect for us. Let's see. Need the second argument to be. So I think I swapped the order. That's the problem. Let us see. No, still not. What did I do? Let's see. This argument label on press, but button needs the second argument. On press maybe message. Oh, is it? Maybe that nothing? That helps. No, still not. Oh, button is taking a message, not a string. Yeah, that's my fault. Well, I just had to read the error more, better. Oh. There you go. Okay. Yay! So we do have a button. Oh, the button's not styled. That's funny. Okay, but this is a button. So the next thing we want is, let me think. Okay, so we're gonna work with our generator. We're gonna go back to our random extra shuffle. I am thinking. So this shuffle, when we use it, it's taking a list and it's gonna use a generator. And we know that the dot generate. So when I click on this button here, at some point I will trigger a comment, and this command I want it to trigger a generate command. We're gonna see how that works. Let's see. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a bunch of, we're gonna take our messages and we're gonna create a new message, and I'm gonna say, let me think, what is a good descriptive? Shuffle clicked. And it's not gonna have any input, and then here we're gonna say case message of shuffle clicked. Then for now do nothing. That's all good. And case message of no up. No up we can remove later, I think, but let's keep it for now, one thing at a time. Oops. Okay, now we have two messages. What did I do? Is it not how does case work in let's see. Case of, is it just a question of indentation? Yes, it was. Okay. All right. Let me think. So in case shuffle is clicked, we probably want to do a, yes, here we're gonna apply dot just shuffle clicked. Okay, so when the button's triggered, when they click the button right now, we're gonna trigger that message. But that message is gonna have to do our random fun. And this is pretty much just a slightly more complex example that we have here. So we're gonna have a random dot generate. And if we go to, I have to import random first, which I will do now. And the second thing is I'm gonna go have a small look into the generate, the prototype of the generate method function, sorry. Generate, okay, it takes something that outputs a message and a generator and generates a comment message. So we want probably to create a new message that's going to take, so shuffled, it's going to take our list of ints I'm expecting, which is what we want to generate in the end. Here it's going to take shuffled, and here what we want is a generator that will generate a list of int from a list of int. So if I understand properly, we just have to input our list of int, and this list of ints, where was it created? Let's see, list of selected Pokemons. And we need random dot extra dot shuffle. Let's see if that is gonna work. We need import extra. Oh, we need to install a random extra, I think. I don't think I have it. Let's see. I can go into my Elm JSON. It's pretty much the equivalent of a package JSON file. Yeah, and I see I don't have random extra. So we're gonna import it. Let's see, what is the exact, okay. The way we do that is Elm install, and then we follow this path. So Elm community random extra, oops, Elm install with a space. It's going to tell me, okay, I'm going to install random extra. I'm going to also install Elm union find, which will be used somehow. Dependency loaded. Now we have it. Let's start our app again to see what's happening. Cannot find that model. Still not? Oh, that's the old message, I'm guessing. Import random. Source directory field tells me it looks okay. So we need to add Elm random as well. And I think Elm random is in core, so it's probably just going to be Elm. Oh yeah, and it's already been used. So we're just going to make it explicit. Starting again. We need to find a random, so random.lists. Yes, not random.extra. And random.lists. list.shuffle. Okay, missing possibilities includes yes, so that's good. We have it added a new message, but we haven't done anything with it, so we're not handling it. And Elm is gently telling us, yo, dude, you're doing half of your work, so you probably want to do something. So we're gonna create a new list. And you know what? We'll do it in 2 steps as usual. But right now we should be doing something with this new shuffled list that we've created, but we're not. Yo, it's compiling, so maybe I've just done exactly what I should have been doing. Here we're gonna want to store this list that we're gonna use as a seed. So I'm gonna call that selected Pokemon list. And it's going to be a list of int, but it's going to be a shuffled version of this, and later on even a subset of that. So if I save, I'm going to show you just for the fun, but yeah, of course I'm just going to complain that I need to give it an initial value. We could play around with maybes, but you know what, for starters I'm just going to create an empty list. Okay. And the last thing we want to do is we probably want to say that the selected, what's the name of the variable? Selected Pokemon list is going to be the new list. Okay. And the last thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take this list of selected Pokemons that we have. I'm going to rename that because it's a very bad variable name. Can I do that in change all currencies? Full list of Pokemons. There you go. That's better. And here we're going to say list. It's in the model, so model.selected Pokemon list. Okay, so if we look into our element now, I'm expecting this is an empty list, so I'm not expecting anything, so it's not going to be doing anything. If I shuffle, there you go. Hey, that's awesome. So our list is not empty anymore, and it's been shuffled, and we can click, and every time we click, it's going to be shuffled. The last thing I want to do before we go for lunch and we improve after that is we're going to take, we said we wanted to also shorten the list. We want to make it shorter because we're not going to use all 13 Pokemons, right? So we're going to take our shuffle full list of Pokemon, and we also want to, let me think, we're going to hardcode things a little bit for now. We know, so the number of Pokemons needed. I have to think a little bit how to make it dynamic, but we're going to use the number of rows and columns divided by 2 pretty much, right? 3 and 3. Oh, that makes me think that I have a bug here. It should be 4. And then we will fix that after lunch this afternoon. It's going to return, we need 8. So when we generate, okay, this is a generator. We should make it shorter here. I don't like doing it in the, we could make it shorter here. I would like ideally to do it here, but if I do it early, shuffled, I have to think. Right now we're just gonna put it new list dot, I think it's gonna be take. and number of Pokemons needed. Let us see. We're gonna restart. Nothing. Yay! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, we have what we need. I don't like doing it here. I don't think that is very clean. Let's see how we come up. What we come up with this afternoon. I'm gonna just commit shuffling Pokemons, and I'm gonna be pushing. Okay, well that's a start. We have a grid. We have we're loading images. We know how many Pokemons we want. I think the next steps are probably to do the flip, and to also, now I think the next thing I want to focus on is probably actually having Pokemons in a random order on the map visible. So this grid of 4x4, I want it to have 2 cards of each Pokemon that have been selected in a random order on the grid. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. I need to think a little bit. And we also need to fix this ugly bug there and to improve some things. So that's perfect. There's some work to do. Let's just wait for the Netlify to be done, our memory to be deployed, and then we'll be good to go. Well, I will not wait for it. It's going to take a while because I'm streaming. Thanks a lot for the time. I don't know how many people actually have watched. Hopefully it helped someone. In any case, probably see you this afternoon. All right. Au revoir.